Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Ellie, aka All Too Swift, and I upload videos about all things Taylor Swift, and sometimes more. Recently, in one of the classes that I'm taking, I was tasked with choosing a piece of rhetoric that had been released in the past year and analyzing it. And the piece of rhetoric that I chose was the letter Taylor Swift wrote to announce that she had purchased the rights to all of her music. So, since obviously you guys all like Taylor and I'm really proud of this essay, I thought it would be fun to share it with you guys. So for today's video, we are going to be talking a little bit about the letter that Taylor Swift penned announcing the purchase of her masters. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and comment down below a hand heart emoji because obviously that's the best emoji there is. And also comment down below other videos you'd like me to make. Obviously the Life of a Showgirl is coming out so soon. I did my nails today and they're so cute. Life of a Showgirl themed with my little blue and orange. Yeah, make sure to subscribe if you aren't already because I upload videos pretty much every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern and you definitely don't want to miss out. Without any further ado, let's get on to the video.
Cause I remember it all.
So basically, I'm just going to be reading my essay for you guys and you can listen, so feel free to let this play in the background or watch it if you want, but I have my computer right here and I'm reading off of her, so I'm really proud of my title for this essay. I think it was super creative, but I called it She's Cheer Captain and We're on the Bleachers, an in-depth analysis of Taylor Swift's letter and its impact on society. On April 26th, 2019, Taylor Swift released a song, Me, the lead single of her upcoming album Lover. This song, an upbeat pop tune, was similar to many of Swift's previous songs. However, one aspect in particular set it apart. The passionate pop anthem about being unique and true to oneself was the first song that Swift owned outright. This means that all revenue from the song would come to her, whether in terms of streams, usage in movies and television, or even when another artist chose to cover it. A few months previously, Swift had made the difficult decision to leave her longtime record label, Big Machine Records, headed by Scott Borchetta, and switch to Republic Records. The reason? Republic would allow Swift to own the rights to her music. Big Machine would not, despite years of Swift attempting to negotiate. After Swift's departure, she received news that her entire discography had been sold to a company managed by Scooter Braun, with whom Swift had come into conflict in the past. Swift was distressed at this, as she had been trying for years to do the very thing Braun had done so easily. Shortly after the release of Lover, the first album Swift owned outright, she announced her intentions to re-record her catalog, stating that if she could not own her original songs, she would do the next best thing and make new versions that she did have all the rights to. What followed was a years-long battle in which Swift always seemed to come out on top. When it was announced in 2020 that her catalog had been sold to Shamrock Holdings and again refused to Swift herself, she doubled down even harder and would go on to re-release 4 of her 6 unowned studio albums, all of which gained more streams than their counterparts, rendering her originals worthless in comparison. Eventually, in May 2025, Taylor Swift penned a letter announcing that finally, after years of trying, she had been able to purchase the rights to her entire discography. That letter is the piece of rhetoric I've chosen to analyze today, due to its distinctiveness. Most of Swift's rhetoric comes in the form of songs or speeches, but this letter stands out because every word was deliberately chosen with no restrictions. Swift did not have a time limit or a rhyme scheme to stick to, and as such, was able to truly set free and say what she wanted. In this essay, I will argue that Swift used specific strategies to both overcome the barriers and activate the advantages that she faced in this letter, ultimately encouraging her readers to learn from her experience and inspiring them to work hard to achieve their goals, even when said goals may feel impossible. In her letter, Swift emphasizes 3 main themes. The first is that if a person works hard enough, they can achieve anything they put their mind to. This is evidence when she states that her biggest goal has always been to work hard enough to one day purchase her music outright with no strings attached. The entire reason she wrote this letter was to inform her audience that she had purchased her music. After 20 years of trying, she wanted to emphasize that all her hard work was not in vain. Continuing with the topic of success, the next theme is that success does not come from working alone. In her rhetoric, Swift thanks her fans, stating that their passionate support and the success story they turned the Eras Tour into is the reason she was able to purchase the rights to her discography. She wants to make it clear that teamwork leads to success and that having a good support system can make a large difference when a person faces hardship. Lastly, the third theme Swift conveys in her work is that things happen for a reason, and that one person's journey can help to inspire and teach others. In her rhetoric, she states that she is heartened by the conversations her experiences inspired, and that whenever she hears other artists have learned from her story, it reminds her how important it was for all of this to happen. Her experience with her record label set a precedent, and now new up-and-coming artists are pushing to own the rights to their music from the start, so that they will not have to go through everything Swift did. With these themes in mind, I believe it is possible to identify numerous requested actions in Swift's rhetoric, but the main one I want to emphasize is the way she reminds her audience to stand up for what they believe in and not settle for less than they deserve. She wants them to learn from her experience and see it as a moment that reflects the importance of hard work and standing up for what they believe in. Swift states that the purchase of her music is her greatest dream come true, and that she was so determined to achieve it that she meticulously re-recorded and released 4 of her albums. Even though it took her 6 years from the original sale of her music to her own purchase of it, her hard work ultimately allowed her to come out on top. Through this celebration of her own achievement, Swift is requesting that her fans strive for similar victories in their own lives. She recognizes that it took a long time to get where she is, and she wants people to know this. She is not simplifying or sugarcoating her journey, instead emphasizing the longevity and difficulty of it to highlight the way hard work eventually leads to triumph. Taylor Swift faced several pre-existing barriers and advantages that helped to color the reception of her rhetoric. To begin, she has a significant advantage in terms of capturing her audience's attention. Swift has a large fan base, and according to Time magazine, at the time of her letter's release, her fans were anticipating an announcement regarding her next project, which was predicted to be a re-recording of her 2 remaining early albums. Swift had just come off of the Eras tour and had gone from being seen at least once a week for nearly 2 years to not being heard from for months. In a Reddit post from early May 2025, a few weeks before Swift's rhetoric was published, a fan stated that, "We're like 113% getting a Rep TV announcement at the AMAs." Swift is known for planting Easter eggs in her music, social media posts, and more, and fans were reading into everything she had done in the past few months. One commenter even going as far as to recall that she announced 1989 TV on August 9th, 1,989 days after the original album's release. The fan used this information in order to justify the fact that people were going as far as counting how many days had passed since Swift's last announcement and finding hypothetical release dates that added up to 13, Swift's favorite number. With this in mind, it becomes clear that this letter came at the perfect time when a large percentage of her fanbase's attention was tuned directly towards anything she did. Additionally, Swift faces an advantage when it comes to the beliefs and values of her audience. Many of Swift's listeners value independence and individuality, like Swift herself, especially when it comes to the idea of Swift owning the rights to her discography. As a result, they believe that Swift was the one who deserved these rights. This is evidenced by the fact that when the re-recorded albums were released, many fans ceased listening to the originals. According to The Culturist, a website that prides itself on keeping up with pop culture, many fans preferred the originals and only listened to the new versions to avoid supporting the stolen versions by streaming them. Fans were so supportive of Swift that they valued her mission to devalue her original work over their want for the nostalgic feel of the songs they had grown up listening to. Another advantage exists in terms of Swift's prior rhetoric. Historically, Swift has been outspoken about the treatment she has faced as an artist, both from the music industry itself and those on the outside of the industry. In 2019, she was named Billboard's Woman of the Decade, and in her acceptance speech, she states that there has been a new shift that is a potentially harmful force in the music industry, in reference to the sale of musicians' master recordings, including her own, to private firms. Swift has been outspoken about the issue of music ownership for a long time, which gives her a rhetorical advantage in that she is experienced and has a large amount of pre-existing credibility when it comes to the subject. Additionally, I believe that Swift faces an advantage when it comes to her reputation as an artist. According to Billboard, Swift signed her record deal with Big Machine Records in 2005 and was with them for 13 years. She then switched labels and signed with Republic Records in 2018. According to a fan-owned and operated website chronicling her career called the Swift Museum, her first album, Taylor Swift, was released on October 24th, 2006, and peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Top 200. Her career only moved upward from there, with Swift earning a plethora of awards, records, and in 2024, becoming the first artist to earn 4 Grammys for Album of the Year, the most prestigious category. With this in mind, it's clear to see that Swift is an overachiever even compared to other musicians with similar career lengths. As a result, she has a reputation of being an inspiration and someone that other artists can look up to and trust, both due to the duration of her experience and the prestige of her successes. It's easy to believe that someone as successful as Taylor Swift would face no barriers in the delivery of her rhetoric. However, this is hardly ever the case for any rhetor, celebrity or not, and Swift is no exception. Swift faces a large barrier in terms of complexity, as the entire situation regarding her ownership of her music is, well, complex. The vast majority of the population is not involved in the music industry, and as such does not understand what transpired or why Swift would have felt the need to re-record her music in the first place. According to a timeline posted by Billboard, Taylor Swift's debacle regarding the ownership of her music officially began in 2019 and was not concluded until May 2025. Over the span of 6 years, a lot has gone on both in Swift's career and in the world in general. Between these 2 dates, Swift released 5 original albums, 4 re-recordings, and took part in a record-breaking tour that has spanned nearly 2 full years. As Swift released more and more music, she gained more fans, and these fans, who had not been around since the original sale of her albums, did not understand what had happened or why Swift felt the need to re-release some of her music. This is evidenced by the fact that comments can be seen floating on various social media platforms asking when Swift was going to re-record Lover, which was the first album she owned outright and therefore did not need to re-record. Additionally, many articles were released, such as one from Today titled, "What Does Taylor's Version Mean?" that aimed to educate the public on the purpose behind her project of re-recording her first 6 albums. These articles, while helpful, would not have been released if they were not necessary in the first place, thus proving that there is a significant problem with complexity. Firm barrier exists and that a significant percentage of Swift's fanbase simply does not understand why the purchase of her music matters to her, or that it was even a possibility in the first place. The complexity of her entire situation makes it one that is difficult to wrap your brain around, especially if you have not been following it for a long time, like much of Swift's younger audience. After examining Swift's barriers and advantages, it becomes clear that she definitely has more advantages than barriers. She benefits from her audience's attention, their shared values, and the combination of both her prior rhetoric and her reputation, whereas the biggest barrier she faces is the complexity of the situation. However, this is not to say that she does not have to work to achieve her goals, because there is still a large potential, as with any piece of rhetoric, for Swift to miss the mark. These barriers and advantages require that she pen a letter that emphasizes and appeals to her advantages while taking into account the underlying complexity factor. In her rhetoric, Swift used a number of strategies to overcome and activate her barriers and advantages, respectively. When it comes to her writing as a whole, some of Swift's most commonly used strategies are aesthetic ones, especially in terms of figurative language, and this letter is no exception. Swift uses many metaphors, such as in the phrase, "My mind is just a slideshow," to convey how overwhelmed and emotional she feels. She also uses the phrase, "having the carrot dangled and yanked away," in reference to how close she has come to owning her music in the past, only for things to fall through at the last minute. Swift also uses personification to make the ownership of her work feel more vivid and like an even larger deal. By putting slightly lifelike features to her descriptions of her songs, she ensures that her audience gets the sense that she has been reunited with something that was wrongfully taken from her, such as in the phrase, "waiting for vault tracks from that album to hatch. They would have their moments to reemerge." In addition, Swift uses a great deal of repetition to convey her sincerity and reinforce her point with the audience. She continually uses phrases like "all the times" as well as the word "all" throughout her rhetoric, and repeats the word "and" when she describes her memories and her sweat and her handwriting and her decades of dreams. This repetition, especially the absence of commas in the last phrase, really helps to convey the intensity and importance of the purchase of her music. Readers get the sense that Swift is out of breath going on and on about something that matters to her, something that matters so much, in fact, that she forgets to stop and take a breath. Furthermore, Swift uses an allusion in the phrase, "the best things that have ever been mine now finally actually are," in which she refers to a song of hers titled Mine, which is about being so in love with a person that their love is the best thing that has ever been yours, even if other people do not understand it. Another slight allusion occurs where she writes "the magic, the madness," because magic, madness, heaven, sin is a lyric from Blank Space, another song she now owns. This song is a satirical look at how the media envisions her, painting her as a crazy serial dater who is always on the prowl for her next victim. The satirical aspect of this song allows her to rewrite the narrative, reconfiguring her credibility. Speaking of credibility, Swift also uses many phrases to emphasize her credibility, such as, "to my fans, you know how important, so much so that I meticulously re-recorded," and when she admits that she has waited 20 years for this opportunity. Over the course of her entire letter, Swift also appeals to the value of hard work and dedication, consistently emphasizing that if it were not for her perseverance, she would not have been able to purchase her music. "All I ever wanted, work hard enough to purchase my music outright." Lastly, Swift uses the symbol of a shamrock, stating that her first tattoo might just be a huge shamrock in the middle of her forehead. Here, she is using the shamrock to symbolize the success of her partnership with Shamrock Capital, the group she was able to purchase her music from. Shamrocks are also thought to be symbols of faith, hope, and love, and in my opinion, this could be a reference to the faith she had in her abilities, the hope she held onto, and the love she now feels towards everyone who made her purchase of her music possible. These strategies used in Swift's rhetoric are no accident, and in fact, happen to be perfectly designed in order to overcome her barrier and activate her advantages. Firstly, Swift uses the aesthetic strategies of metaphor and repetition to capture her audience's attention. She knew that her audience wanted something music-related from her, and as a result, she used these tactics to make her letter read like a song. Swift's music is filled with figurative language and catchy choruses, and by recreating that aspect in her work, she ensured her audience's attention would be captured. Similarly, she activates the advantage of their shared beliefs and values through the emotions evoked in her usage of personification. Swift's audience values her independence and her ability to own her work, and by personifying her music, she highlights the feeling that she has been justly reunited with something that belongs to her and was wrongly taken. This creates sympathy for Swift and influences her audience to take her side, even if they do not already share the belief that she deserves to own her work. When it comes to activating the advantage posed by her prior rhetoric, Swift uses the symbol of a shamrock. In her prior rhetoric, Swift has stated how she feels betrayed by the treatment of musicians by their record labels, but this contrast, and the fact that she is so clearly pleased with her experience with Shamrock Capital, hugely illustrates how the behavior of these label executives can be changed for the better. Swift has been advocating for these changes, and her symbolism demonstrates that her advocacy works, strengthening her advantage of prior rhetoric and therefore communicating to her audience that standing up for what you believe in is the right thing to do. In fact, Swift does something similar in terms of activating the advantage of her reputation. By appealing to the value of hard work and establishing her credibility, Swift reinforces that she is someone who can and should be trusted. Ultimately, the fact that Swift was able to purchase her work in the first place activates both the advantage of her prior rhetoric and her reputation. Swift does not just activate her advantages, she largely overcomes her barrier of complexity as well. By using an allusion to her song Mine, Swift simply explains how important the purchase of her work is and what it means to her. Even audience members who have not been following the saga are able to gather that this is a defining moment in Swift's career. The illusion of blank space functions similarly. By referencing a song that allowed her to take control of her narrative, Swift references the way that this negotiation has allowed her autonomy and the ability to remain in control of what happens to her work. In the end, I firmly believe that through the usage of these strategies, Swift successfully inspires her audience members to take hold of their own lives and stand up for what they believe in. She illustrates time and time again that with hard work, anything is possible, and recognizes that her struggles have paved the way for other artists. It is easy to assume that Swift's words are just that, words. But the truth is that her journey has inspired a multitude of other artists. For instance, on August 25th, 2025, Rachel Platten took to Instagram to announce that she would soon be releasing an album with re-recorded versions of some of her most popular songs, including her hit track Fight Song. stating that this was done not to change the songs, but to reclaim them. In her caption, Platten specifically singles Swift out, thanking her for empowering artists to take back control over their work, their stories, and their futures. Other artists are beginning to follow suit. New up-and-coming artists are realizing how important it is for them to work owning their work into their contracts from the beginning. It is heavily displayed in this rhetoric that Swift wants other artists to know that they have the power to do what she did, and even more broadly, she wants everyone who comes across her letter to feel empowered to follow their dreams. It is clear that Swift is a trailblazer, yes, but ultimately she is a cheerleader, encouraging everyone to pursue the things that matter to them, whether that be music, writing, sports, or something else entirely. So yeah, that was really long, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm super proud of this essay. I haven't been as proud of a school assignment in a very long time, so fingers crossed I get a good grade on it. But I think just the idea of how she's able to communicate all these things through her writing is so cool, and I love reading things and analyzing them. I'm excited for The Life of a Showgirl to come out so I can analyze those songs. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a thumbs up if you haven't already, even though I already asked you to earlier. And also comment down below your favorite album out of the 6 that she didn't own but now she owns, because I'm very curious. So if you made it to the end of the video, you might as well subscribe because you stayed the whole time, so you obviously enjoyed it. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I hope you know that you are all super smart and amazing and wonderful, and you can achieve all your dreams if you put your mind to it, just like Taylor wants you to know in her letter. And yeah,